I welcome all of you to this first preceptors meeting in Rajsand. There is nothing historic about it. I don't believe in history. For the simple reason that history deals with the past. We would like to deal with the future. So in that sense, I want that people here should be prepared to create history, write a new history of humanity and its possibilities, which later on historians may say has been achieved. It is like a natural history, not for our own pleasure or aggrandizement, but like the science of paleontology. When you cut into the earth, layer by layer, you find the various geological eras clearly before you on a vertical scale. There it is something natural, here we wish to do something oriented towards a specific purpose and a goal. The specific purpose in the long-term context is to realize the plans that my master had for the future of humanity. The short-term goals are to deal with our abhyasis who come to us so that each one of them can contribute to that long-term goal by achieving in themselves what Sahaj Marg promises. With our help, with our assistance. So we are here as historians of the future. I hope all of you understand the importance and the significance of such a role. We don't write history, we try to create history. A history not of wars and suffering and pestilence, but of a history of joy, of fulfillment and of evolution. Preceptors have a very definite and significant role to play in this. Those who don't are betraying the trust that the Master has placed in them and are also betraying the promise that they gave to themselves when they accepted the job as a preceptor. I am emphasizing this aspect because preceptors too often feel that they have nothing to do but to give a few sittings. The better ones write a diary, the lazier ones don't even do it. We are not here to give sittings. Sittings is a means. Transmission is the use of a capacity given to us by the Master. Cleaning is a technique. Like a man doesn't become a carpenter by owning a set of tools. We don't become preceptors by just being bestowed with the capacity to do things. We become preceptors only when we do things, when we have done things, when we have something to show for the result. Too often we have things which we don't use and we are proud of that. We have intelligence which we don't use. Even the most intelligent don't have the intelligence to use that intelligence for their welfare and for their evolution. They go berserk. So having a capacity can be a danger if it is not used in the right way. Because if it is not used in the right way, it is used in the wrong way. So we must make sure that all that Babuji has given us is used in a way in which his purpose will be achieved, his plans will be realized. For this, dedication is necessary, love for the work is necessary. There is too much talk of loving the abhyasi. We must love the work. When we love our work, we automatically love the abhyasis. Whereas when we love abhyasis, we may not to do the work, and in fact it may lead to complications. So love the work. Why do you love the work? Because you are supposed to love your master. Love the master, love his work, then you love his plans, you love his dreams for the future. Then we shall do something about it. Loving the abhyasis, I don't see any results. What is loving the abhyasi? If you can do something good for somebody, then it shows that you love that person. But loving someone and not doing any good to them is ridiculous. You cannot love somebody and not do anything for them. You cannot love somebody and do harm to them. Whereas if you do good to them, it doesn't matter whether you love them or not. There is some result. So less talk of love, more talk of work. More talk of results, more talk of dedication. More talk of trying to live up to the promise that we have, at least in principle, made to the master when we accepted the job of being a preceptor. Each one has his specific place to play, his part. Let there not be any power struggles. Let there not be mutual jealousy. Always I find in the old myths and religious stories that the smallest and the weakest do much more than the strongest and the most powerful. It is in the myths of all civilizations. So let us try to be humble but dedicated preceptors. Let us try to do and achieve and thereby show our love than just to love and not do anything for people. Let us be alert to our responsibilities and our opportunities. Every time somebody comes to you who is not an abhyasi is an opportunity. Every time you let him go away, it's a lost opportunity to serve, not to add one more abhyasi to the list, but to serve someone. Here in Denmark, we have the maximum number of full preceptors outside India. Had they done their job in all these 20 years since they have been there, Denmark would have been a transformed nation. It is unfortunate that this mission has stagnated till now. I think it is a sign of Babuji's grace and his continuing love for Denmark that we are here today in Brassand, trying to renew that spirit and that stream of life-giving spiritual force that he brought into this country in 1972. 21 years have gone. I hope in the next 20 years we shall see the flowering of Denmark and the bringing forth of the truth of what he said, that someday Denmark will be the capital of this, the spiritual capital, that the Danes will rise spiritually. At least in Denmark it should happen, where Babuji Maharaj has put so much of his love and time. It is no use talking of Babuji, Babuji, Babuji all the time, talking of your love for him, if you don't contribute to the purpose for which he came here. This is applied to all preceptors, not only to the preceptors of Denmark. It applies to all. We are only talking of Babuji's love. It's like talking of the sunshine and the farmer is not cultivating his fields. Of course the sun shines. It is saying wonderful rain, it has been so dry, but nobody is doing anything to collect the water or to irrigate their fields. Similarly, we are going on talking of Babuji's love and doing nothing to harness that love into creative channels, purposeful channels of evolutionary progress. It is a weakness, I find, that people who go on talking of Babuji and his love don't do anything, whereas the man who never speaks even of Babuji does a lot. Our capacities are unlimited. When we think of the Master and do something, literally there is no limit to what we can do. So why don't we do at least something? So I think the time has come to sort of, get back into the realities of the spiritual life. Understand that you are not living for yourself anymore. Understand that all your needs will be fulfilled by him if you are faithful to his work and faithful to him. Understand that in the fulfillment of your work with others lies the fulfillment of your own life's purpose. that in their happiness lies your happiness, in their health lies your health, and that in his happiness with you lies your final happiness. Otherwise, there is no happiness on earth for us. That is why perhaps so many of us are seeking fulfillment in other ways and not finding it, only finding sickness, only finding disillusionment, tragedy. So these are some of the things I should like to impress upon you today. That the life of a preceptor is a life of dedication to a particular purpose. That purpose does not give you any freedom to play the fool anymore. You have to be very serious about this work. You are, of course, free to lead your life, your married life, your professional life, your service life, in the best way possible to conduce to the role of a preceptor. They must all support your role as a preceptor. When anything in your life interferes with your work as a preceptor, that aspect of your life must be cut off and thrown away. There have been great artists that they painted a bad picture and they cut off their right arm. They said, this arm has failed me, and they have cut it off and thrown away. That must be the level of our integrity and of our commitment. Anything that prevents me from working for my master is against it. It doesn't matter whether it's a person, a place, or a thing. It must go. If you are capable of this sense of dedication, you don't have to cut off your arm. Automatically, the work will fall into place. People are always imagining, oh, does it mean I have to give away my home and my wealth? Not at all. Does it mean I have to divorce my husband? Not at all. It is the creation of a sense of dedication in yourself. When that happens, everything else comes in a cooperative way. Till then, what was not cooperating begins to cooperate. You can test it for yourself. I can tell you it works. If it has worked for me, I don't see why it shouldn't work for you. I was talking to the teenagers the other day and I suggested that there's a famous principle in life, that we have always to choose between the pleasant and the good. It is a continuing principle. Whether it is for children or adults, it is the same. It is always pleasant to be idle, but it is good not to be idle. It is pleasant to eat, it is perhaps good not to eat. It is pleasant to play the fool, it is good not to do it. So always remember, when you are faced with a choice, should I go boating or should I give this man a sitting? Which is pleasant, which is good, decide what is good and do it. It's a very simple principle to follow. For those who are serious about their purpose, life becomes very simple. There is no choice. As long as we imagine we have freedom and therefore the ability to choose or the right to choose, life becomes very complicated. We complicate it by accepting various alternatives from which to choose something. If I am in a situation of no choice, where I have only one thing to do, only one way of doing it, I have no complications. This giving up of your freedom to choose your way of life, your way of living, your right to do what you like, is surrender. Surrender does not mean going to Babuji and catching his feet and weeping like you see so many people doing in India. It does not mean becoming a beggar. It does not mean becoming a servant. It means giving up all ideas of choice and doing only what he wants us to do. In this are implicit the other ideas of obedience, of love. So obedience, love, surrender, they are three phases of the same thing. You cannot have them individually. You have them all three or you don't have them at all. So one cannot be obedient without dedication. Otherwise we are like policemen and military people. That is obedience for pay. Here we obey because we love. So finally, your work will reflect your love for the master. I hear too much of this talk of loving Babuji and loving and feeling his presence and all this blah blah. You say, I'm sorry. There is too much of this mushy, emotional nonsense. I wish to show I wish to see this reflected in your work. When you work and the results are there, then I will know that you have loved your master. If you are only talking of love, well, every bird is screeching and we call it music. You can teach a parrot to go on saying all day, I love Babuji, I love Babuji, I love Babuji. It's no use. Love must result in perfect action. Love for a person must reflect in the action that he desired you to do for him. Love of a principle must be revealed in your working and in your adherence to that principle. And love for the master must be revealed in your love for all. So your work will be a proof of your love. And that everybody will see, you see. When you speak of love, you are only talking of yourself. And people will say, well, perhaps. But when you work, they will see your love in action. The proof of this mission, the test of its efficacy, will be what people think of you, and therefore of the mission through you. So please remember that we have very great responsibilities, which are after all playthings in life. I have never found spiritual work to be difficult. It is, of course, sometimes something against which I too rebel. I like to be at rest. Somebody comes and says, I want a sitting. Momentarily, I may say, what is this damn nonsense into which I have got, you see. But I overcome it, see. Courage is not in not being afraid. Courage is in being able to overcome fear. People think that a courageous man is never afraid. Nonsense. Most courageous men are always afraid. But when it is necessary not to be afraid, they are able not to be afraid at that moment. What is the use of courage when it is not necessary? It is like money when it is not necessary. What will I do with $1 million right in the center of the Sahara Desert? So, our qualities, our capacities, our strengths must manifest at need. If it is not there when it is needed, it is useless. Whether it is there or not is immaterial. So at need, I must be able to overcome laziness. I may be in bed all day long, it doesn't mean I am lazy. But when there is something to do, I must be able to get up and do it and then go back to bed. It doesn't matter. We have seen Babuji. Most of the time he was in bed. Nobody called him a lazy man. But when there was work, he did it. See. So you see, dedication to the purpose which we have accepted. A total commitment to make his plans work, and a total effort to realize those plans on earth. This is our goal. I hope that all of you will rise to this occasion, because otherwise all these ashrams are waste of money. It is your money you are wasting. You have all paid for this ashram and other ashrams everywhere. What is the use of putting money in something in which you don't believe, for which you are not willing to work, and to realize the ideals of which you are not willing to have sustained work? When we put our money into something, every businessman knows this, he wants his rewards. He wants the capital to multiply. For us, money will not multiply. Happiness will multiply, joy will multiply. Evolution will go forward with a new surge, creating a new humanity, and as I said, a new history for the future, which Babuji in his mind has already written, which we must see is written in the books of the future. Thank you.